He was looking all over everywhere.
You should.
I really want to.
They're nice, huh? I'd like to call the January meeting of commissioners to order. I will call on Commissioner Bauer for the invocation.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, we humbly ask your blessing today on this meeting and all those who have prepared for and come together to present and process information and to make decisions that influence the lives of those who call our great city of Suffolk home. We are reminded that the highest of all distinctions is service to others. Let us come together in that united spirit of service as we work together for the greatest good. In your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Mr. Wine, will you call the roll, please?
Sir. Commissioner Bauer.
Here.
Commissioner Creekmore.
Here.
Commissioner Eberwein.
Here.
Commissioner Edwards. Commissioner Goodman.
Here.
Commissioner Hicks. Here. Vice Chairman Staler.
Here.
And Chairman Singleton.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wine. Are there any corrections to the minutes of the December meeting? Not, they'll stand approved as printed. Before we move to the agenda items, we have one item that's item A and C. And I'd like to hear a motion to move item B to the beginning, and this way item A and C will be together when it's presented from one staff report.
So moved.
Okay, got a second? Second. Okay. All in favor of voice vote?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. This afternoon, we have 4 items on our agenda for public hearings. The public hearings are for 30 minutes, 10 minutes for the proponents, 15 minutes for the opponents, and 5 minutes for rebuttal. This meeting is videotaped and televised for public viewing. The first item on our agenda today is going to be item B, Conditional Use Permit Request CUP 2022-024, Whaleyville Event Venue. Mr. Wine, will you read the caption, please?
Yes, sir. Conditional use permit request, CUP 2022-024, Whaleyville Event Venue. This is submitted by Margie Manley, White Multipurpose Center LLC, applicant and property owner, in accordance with sections 31306 and 31406 of the Unified Development Ordinance, to grant a conditional use permit to establish a public assembly not otherwise enumerated on property located at 6142 Whaleyville Boulevard, zoning map 64A, parcel 71E. The affected area is further identified as being located in the Whaleyville voting borough, zoned VC, Village Center District, zoning district. The 2035 comprehensive plan designates this area as part of the Rural Agricultural Use District. When you act on this request, you'll be acting on a resolution to present a report and a recommendation to City Council relating to conditional use permit request CUP 2022-024. Staff Planner Grace Brazil will present staff's report.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Chairman and Planning Commissioners. As stated, this CUP is to permit a public assembly use to utilize the existing structure on the property for the purpose of running an event space for events such as class reunions, birthday parties, wedding receptions, baby showers, and retirement dinners. It is important to note that the 2035 comprehensive plan designates this property as being located within the Whaleyville Village. Villages are outlined in the comprehensive plan as a place type, which is a smaller version of a town. These include several different types of buildings, from detached houses to mixed-use buildings along the main street. Villages typically are compact, pedestrian-oriented, and consist of a mix of uses along the main street with retail and commercial uses serving the surrounding residences. Typically, you then have farms, fields, and natural areas which do define their edges. To the northeast of Whaleyville Boulevard, there are various uses. You have the residential homes along this major corridor. You then also have the Suffolk Fire Station 8. You also have directly across the street a healthcare facility, and then up the street is the Duck-Through gas station. Then to the south of Whaleyville Boulevard, you have the subject property highlighted in yellow with residential homes on either side, and then you also have a mini farm and commercial stables directly behind it. The property does feature a one-story residential structure that previously operated as an antique shop and before that as a medical office. There is an existing gravel parking area with a commercial entrance in front of the building that can accommodate up to 18 vehicles, which did support the previous businesses. This is the layout that was provided by the applicant. The UDO does require a minimum of 42 parking spaces for the requested public assembly use. As I just mentioned, the existing parking area can only accommodate 18 parking spaces, as the rear yard cannot be used for additional parking due to the location of the septic and drain field. There also is not enough distance between the side property lines and the structure for a drive aisle. Due to the restrictions on the property to obtain additional parking, the Board of Zoning Appeals approved a variance in September of 2023 to reduce the required on-site parking spaces from 42 to 18 parking spaces. Staff has recommended a condition that the occupancy shall be limited to the square footage of the building area that can be accommodated by the 18 parking spaces available on site as approved by the building or the city's building official. As it relates to the proposed hours of operation, they are proposed to be Sunday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 11 p.m., and then Friday and Saturday, 9 a.m. to midnight. These hours of operation do align with the hours of operation that have been conditioned for similar uses, and staff has also placed the condition for this CUP. Any music related to these various events will be proposed from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. and will be restricted to indoors starting at 8 p.m. The applicant is required to abide by all city regulations pertaining to sound control and noise. As mentioned, there are residential uses on either side of the property. As such, staff has recommended a condition to require privacy fencing to be installed along the side and rear property in order to mitigate any potential noise or visual impacts, as the outdoor space will be used in addition to the structure for the various events described in the narrative. The use with the recommended conditions is not expected to be noxious or offensive by reason of vibration, noise, odor, dust, smoke, or gas. This is the floor plan of the existing structure. The banquet area is approximately 1,200 feet in area, and there are 2 restrooms and a kitchen available for catering. The narrative does mention that the individuals renting the space will be required to obtain the proper ABC licensing and will be required to provide this license or permit 2 days prior to their event. Staff has evaluated the conditional use review criteria and found that the use with the recommended conditions is not expected to diminish or impair property values within the neighborhood, as the property has previously operated with other commercial and retail uses and is expected to provide an additional business opportunity in the village area. It is important to note that the property fronts on Whaleyville Boulevard, along with other residential, commercial, and retail uses. The event venue would continue to provide that mix of uses in the surrounding area as supported by the 2035 Comprehensive Plan for Village Place Types. As such, staff recommends approval of Conditional Use Permit Request, CUP 2022-024, with the following conditions outlined in staff's report. That does conclude my presentation, and I'm available to answer any questions you may have following the public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brazil. I will now open the public hearing. Who would like to come forward and speak in favor of this request?
Good afternoon. How y'all doing? I am Margie Manley. I am the owner of White Multipurpose Center, which I am trying to open and operate in Wellerville. And I appreciate y'all listening to my proposal, and I pray that all is well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mann. Is there anyone else to speak in favor of this request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition? Hearing none, I will now close the public hearing. Commissioners, question, comments, or a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve CUP 2022-024 with all conditions.
Got a motion for
Second.
approval?
Second.
I got a second. Any question, any discussion on the motion? Not, Mr. Vaughn, prepare us to vote.
All right, commissioners, please vote. Mr. Chairman, the motion is approved by a vote of 8-0.
Congratulations, Ms. Manley. This will go to City Council on the 21st of February with a recommendation for approval. Okay. The next item on our agenda would be the rezoning request RZN 2023-009 Ryan Construction Company. And I understand we're going to have one staff report, and that will include the, excuse me, the conditional use permit request, CUP 2023-024. Mr. Wyman, you read the caption, please.
Yes, sir. This is rezoning request RZN 2023-009 Ryan Construction Company, submitted by Brian Lane, Parish Lane Design Group applicant, on behalf of Catherine Nelms Revocable Trust, and RYCA LLC property owners, in accordance with Section 31304 of the Unified Development Ordinance, to rezone and amend the official zoning map of the City of Suffolk to change the zoning from RL and M1 Residential Low Density and Light Industrial Zoning District conditional to M1 Light Industrial Zoning District for property located at 2061 and 2075 Wilroy Road, zoning map 26, parcels 23 and 24. The affected area is further identified as being located in the Cypress voting borough zoned RL and M1. That's your residential low density and light industrial zoning district conditional. The 2035 comprehensive plan designates this area as part of the Central Growth Area Suburban Use District. When you act on this request, you'll be acting on a resolution to present a report and recommendation to City Council relating to rezoning request RZN 2023-009. That's the caption for the rezoning. I'll read the conditional use permit before that public hearing, but staff planner Shannon Wolf will present staff's combined report on both the rezoning and the conditional use permit.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the Planning Commission. As Mr. Juan has stated, this is a request to rezone and amend the official zoning map of the City of Suffolk in order to eliminate the previously approved proffered conditions and change the zoning from RL Residential Low Density, M1 Light Industrial Conditional, and B2 General Commercial Zoning Districts to M1 Light Industrial Zoning District on portions of property located at 2061 and 2075 Wilroy Road. A conditional use permit, CUP 2023-024, was submitted concurrently with this request. The rezoning must precede the CUP in order for the proposed use to be allowed. The applicant is proposing to rezone a portion of both properties and obtain a concurrent CUP in order to bring the existing business, Ryan Construction, into compliance, as the business has since expanded outside the approved footprint of the previous rezoning and CUP. The subject parcel is located on Wilroy Road between Highway 58 and Progress Road. The property is roughly 52 acres in size and bears two addresses, 2061 and 2075 Wilroy Road. The north of the property is single-family dwelling zoned RL. The south of the property is Wilroy Industrial Park zoned M1 and B2. To the east are commercial businesses zoned B2 and O and I. And to the west are more commercial businesses zoned M1 and M2. Before you is the rezoning exhibit, which outlines the boundaries of the parcel to be rezoned from RL to B2, from RL and B2 to M1 for the proposed establishment of a contractors and trade shop with outdoor storage and operation use. The previously approved proffers for the rezoning applied to the areas that are not shaded. The previously approved proffers for the rezoning applied are only to the areas shaded in purple and are proposed to be removed with this request. The previously approved proffers limited the RL zone parcel to no more than 2 single-family lots to be created and required a .25 acre portion of land along Wilroy Road to remain open space with no access allowed through it. And although they were relevant at the time of the original rezoning, they are no longer necessary. As such, staff has no concerns with the removal of the previously approved proffers. As it relates to the CUP, this is the exhibit before you on the screen. The CUP is to expand the proposed contractors and trade shop with outdoor storage and operations use to include the entirety of what was developed. The provided conceptual plan outlines the total area to be covered with the 1.4 acre expansion. The current conditional use permit was approved in March of 2010, and the business has since expanded outside of the approved footprint. The applicant is not proposing any changes to the current operation nor any expansion of the present use outside of what is presently built at this time. The use is currently operating on site and has not, nor is it anticipated to produce any adverse impacts to the surrounding areas. The existing facilities currently take access from Wilroy Road by 2 access points, and no additional access has been requested. The Department of Public Works Traffic Engineering has reviewed this request and has expressed no concerns regarding expansion of the current use. Staff has recommended 4 conditions as a part of the conditional use permit request. I would like to bring your attention to condition number 2 specifically, in which a boundary line adjustment plat shall be submitted within 6 months of approval of this application in order to adjust the boundaries of tax parcels 26*23 and 26*24 so that the entire use and zoning is encompassed in one parcel. In summary, the proposed rezoning of portions of parcels 26*23 and 26*24 from the RL residential low density, M1 light industrial conditional, and B2 general commercial zoning districts to M1 light industrial zoning district is consistent with the policies of the 2035 comprehensive plan. The existing parcel meets the locational requirements outlined for the M1 zoning district, and the proposed use is expected to be compatible with the surrounding land uses. Therefore, staff recommends approval of rezoning request RZN 2023-009 with the elimination of the previously approved proffers as submitted. Additionally, staff finds that the conditional use permit request meets the criteria set forth in sections 31-306, 31-406, and 31-709 of the Unified Development Ordinance. Therefore, staff recommends approval of CUP 2023-024 with conditions. Thank you. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions after the public hearing.
Thank you, Ms. Wolf. I will now open the public hearing on the rezoning request, RZN 2023-009, Ryan Construction. Who would like to speak in favor of this request?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Whit Harper. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Brian Lane, as well as the property owners, Rika and Ms. Nelms. I want to thank Ms. Wolf for going through the project, and I'm not going to try to give you an echo chamber here of what we're trying to do. Essentially, what I think the Planning Commission would be interested in or would prefer here is that we are making one big parcel that's going to be zoned a certain way with a conditional use permit a certain way. I also think it should be noted, and I know this from a bit of the background of working with Ms. Nelms, the second, I say the second, but very soon after she was alerted to this issue as far as that, she was storing some company property there and that sort of thing, she started to work on the process of getting an exhibit together to change this and get it done. The fact of the matter is it's just taken us a while to get the survey right, figure out how the boundary line adjustment should be done and how that works. So we are hopeful that you'll approve this, and if you've got any questions, will do my best to answer them. Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harper. Is there anyone else to speak in favor of this request? Hearing none. Is there anyone to speak in opposition to this request? And hearing none. Mr. Harper, you have any additional comments you would like to make?
No, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now close the public hearings. Commissioners, comments, questions, or a motion?
I did want to take an opportunity to make a quick clarification. Shannon, can you go back up and park it on the zoning land use map? Just wanted to be clear as it relates to the rezoning and the CUP a little later. We have identified as part of the rezoning what is Exhibit C, which is essentially this exhibit here without the aerial underneath it. There is a little tiny triangle at the very bottom of, at the very southern point of the property. You can see it. It's not clearly outlined on this exhibit, which is notated as Exhibit C in your packet, but it could utilize, or it could benefit from some clarification as it relates to the other cited exhibits, specifically for the rezoning Exhibit D and E. So I think it would be appropriate if when you act that you do so making your recommendation to Planning Commission with a clarified Exhibit C to align with those surveyed exhibits that are Exhibit D and E as part of the rezoning, if that makes sense. That little triangle, I believe, is captured, but we want to ensure that it aligns specifically with those other surveyed exhibits. So just wanted to bring that to your attention for consideration. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know, but we want to make sure that that little triangle that is currently zoned B2 is also incorporated as a part of this, in which it would be rezoned to M1.
Commissioners, any additional comments you want to make on it? Enough clarification? Okay. Hearing none. This is strictly for the rezoning request.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of RZN 2023-009 with any conditions and making sure that we clarify that that little triangle we're talking about.
See.
Which I can see, but I can't tell you where. I mean, it's you're talking. I'm hoping that you're talking about where B2 and RL meet, right in that upper corner. Okay. Yes. Anyway, I messed my motion up, but that's it.
I second it.
You might be able to see it a little better in the shaded area.
Yeah, it's captured here There's this tiny baby triangle at the bottom of your screen on Wilroy Road there, where a portion of the property is split zoned currently. That little triangle is B2. We want to be sure that that exhibit captures that clearly. I believe it does now, but we want to make sure that it's clear.
Get a second for you, Mr. Creekmore?
Second it.
Oh, Ms. Bauer, okay, thank you. Okay. Any question on the motion? Do you need any more clarification before we vote? Okay. Mr. Wine, call for the vote, please.
Yes, sir. All right, commissioners, please vote. Mr. Chairman, the motion is approved by a vote of 8-0.
Okay, we're halfway through. Now we're going to move to the conditional use permit request, CUP 2023-024. And Mr. Wine, I think you're going to read the caption on that.
Yes. So this is conditional use permit request, CUP 2023-024, Ryan Construction, submitted by Brian Lane, Parish Lane Design Group, applicant on behalf of Catherine Nelms Revocable Trust, and RYCA LLC property owners, in accordance with sections 31306 and 31406 of the Unified Development Ordinance 2, in order to amend the previously approved conditions pertaining to the establishment of a contractors and trade shop, including outdoor storage on property located at 2061 and 2075 Wilroy Road, zoning map 26, parcels 23 and 24. The purpose of this request is to correct a non-conforming use issue of occupied area for an existing business pertaining to the development of Ryan Construction Company and C1809. The affected area is further identified as being located in the Cypress voting borough, zoned RL and M1. That's our residential low density and light industrial zoning district. The 2035 comprehensive plan designates this area as part of the central growth area suburban use district. When you act on this request, you'll be acting on a resolution to present a report and recommendation to City Council relating to conditional use permit request CUP 2023-024. Staff made their, combined the report last time, so after the public hearing, we can stand by for any questions as it relates to this conditional use permit.
Thank you, Mr. Wine. Now we'll open the public hearing for conditional use permit request CUP 2023-024, Ryan Construction. Who would like to speak in favor of this request?
Here on behalf of the applicant. I don't know that y'all need another spiel, but if you do have any questions, I'm happy to have them. And Mr. Lane's here also if we have any questions regarding the plats. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hopper. Anyone else to speak in favor of this request? Anyone to speak in opposition? Hearing none, we'll now close the public hearing. Commissioners, questions, comments, or a motion?
Chairman, it sounds like they're legitimizing what they're already doing, so I move approval of CUP 2023-024 with the 4 conditions, I think it is. Yes, 4 conditions.
Similar to the rezoning, as it relates to the Exhibit B shown in the CUP, it would be important that we clarify that it aligns with Exhibits C and D in this case.
That in my motion, thank you.
Second.
Got a second from Commissioner Creekmore. Any discussion on the motion? Call for the vote, Mr. Wine.
Yes, sir. Commissioners, please vote. Mr. Chairman, the motion is approved by a vote of 8-0.
Mr. Hopper and Mrs. Nelms, this will go to City Council on 2/21/24 with the motion, a recommendation for approval on both the rezoning request and the conditional use permit. Thanks for your service. Thanks for your time. The next item on our agenda today is the conditional use permit request CUP 2023-026, Joy Apostolic Ministries. Mr. Wyman, you read the caption, please.
Yes, sir. I struggled with that too. Conditional use permit request, CUP 2023-026, Joy Apostolic Ministries, submitted by Brenda Parrish, applicant, on behalf of Corey Duncan, Grub for You LLC, property owner, in accordance with sections 31306 and 31406 of the Unified Development Ordinance, to grant a conditional use permit to establish a place of worship on the property located at 807 West Washington Street, zoning map 34G16 6D, parcel 2*3. The affected area is further identified as being located in the Suffolk voting borough, zoned CBD, Central Business District. The 2035 comprehensive plan designates this area as part of the Central Growth Area Mixed-Use Core Use District. When you act on this request, you'll be acting on a resolution to present a report and recommendation to City Council relating to conditional use permit request CUP 2023-026. Staff Planner Amy Mervine will present staff's report.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairman and Planning Commissioners. This conditional use permit request before you today is to establish a small place of worship under 6,000 square feet within the main sanctuary use at 807 Portsmouth Boulevard. The subject property is located within the Central Growth Area Mixed-Use Core District. The subject property is located in the Central Business District, CBD, and the Historic Conservation Overlay District. To the north of the subject property is an apartment complex and a commercial retail store zoned CBD. To the west and east are vacant commercial land, apartments, and an office building, all zoned CBD. To the south are detached single-family residential dwellings zoned RM, residential medium density. The applicant's request is to establish Joy Apostolic Ministries, consisting of approximately 40 to 60 members and providing 60 seats within the main sanctuary. The proposal includes providing worship services, Sunday school, Bible studies, biblical workshop teachings, youth activities such as Vacation Bible School, community support activities such as clothing distribution for those in need, and providing information on community resources. Worship services are proposed from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. with occasional evening services from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Sundays. Additional studies are proposed Monday nights from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. and weekly nightly revivals, which are proposed twice a year from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Saturday community activities are proposed from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. The applicant estimates between 40 to 60 members and members of the community to attend such activities. The applicant states there is no kitchen, therefore no food will be prepared on site. Food will be prepared and packaged off-site and brought to the facility. The UDO allows the parking requirements within the CBD zoning district to be waived. The applicant's project narrative states that there are approximately 25 parking spaces on-site and adjacent. The ministry owns a van that will be able to provide shuttle services to their members as necessary as well. The property has existing access to the site from West Washington Street and Causey Avenue. The access to Causey Avenue is provided over a separate parcel owned by the same owner through a private drive. The submitted floor plan, as shown on this slide, shows the main sanctuary, restrooms, a classroom, a lobby, and office and storage spaces. The shed and garage located at the rear of the property is to be utilized for storage such as tables, decorations, cleaning supplies, and lawn care items. Oh, whoops. About that. Staff believes the proposed use of a small place of worship located at 807 West Washington Street is not expected to adversely impact the surrounding neighborhood and is appropriate in this location. All other departments have reviewed this request and have no concerns at this time. Therefore, staff recommends approval of CUP 2023-026 with the conditions stated within the staff report. This concludes my presentation, and I will now stand by for questions after the public hearing.
Thank you, Ms. Mervine. I will now open the public hearing on conditional use request CUP 2023-026, Joy Apostolic Ministries. Who would like to speak in favor of this request?
Good afternoon, Chairman and Planning Commissioners. My name is Brenda Parrish. I'm the pastor and founder of Joy Apostolic Ministries. Joy Apostolic Ministries has been a part of the city of Suffolk since 2012. Of course, we've already heard what we plan to do here. I just wanted to say that I am a born and raised Suffolkian. I've been here all of my life. I've worked here all of my life, and I have a vested interest in this city, and I feel like our church will continue to be an asset to our community. We are excited about this location, and we feel that those that are around us, even some of their neighbors, are also excited about us being there. Therefore, we're asking that you would approve this COP so that our congregation can go forth in our vision, which is to empower people and transform lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Parrish. Is there anyone else to speak in favor of this request?
Good afternoon, Chairman and Planning Commission. My name is Dwayne Struthers. I am a member of Joy Apostolic Ministries, and I too believe that it would be in the best interest of the city as well as its citizens to approve our application. We certainly have a mission to empower people and to change and transform lives by starting early, giving people hope, and giving them a vision that they can grow up to make greater contributions to this city and to make a better lives, not only for themselves, but for others. That's our mission, and we ask that you would endorse and approve our application so we can proceed on in that light. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Struthers. Is anyone else to speak in favor of this request? Is anyone to speak in opposition? Hearing none. Reverend Parrish, do you have any additional comments you would like to make? Thank you. Okay. I will now close the public hearings. Commissioners, questions, comments, or a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of CUP 2023-026 with the 6 conditions.
Second
Second.
motion.
Got a second and a motion and a second to Commissioner Staley. Any question on the motion? Hearing none. Mr. Wyman, you call for the vote, please.
Yes, sir. Commissioners, please vote. Mr. Chairman, the motion is approved by a vote of 8-0.
Congratulations, Reverend Parrish. This will go to City Council on February 21st with a recommendation for approval from this body. Thank you for your time. Okay, that closes the public hearing for today, and we'll move to old business and staff report presentation on the proposed CIP, 2025-2034.
Yes, sir. Yes, you may recall at your meeting last month, our interim director of budget, Charles Meek, provided a deep dive presentation into the proposed fiscal year 2025-2034 capital improvements plan. He's back to provide an additional overview in which it would be appropriate for you to take action on this document. With that being said, we are also pleased to have a variety of directors from various departments throughout the city who have projects within the CIP. So with that being said, I'll turn it over to Charles.
Thank you, Kevin. Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the Planning Commission. As Kevin indicated at your last meeting, I provided an overview of all the service areas and projects in the proposed CIP. Today, I'm going to give a high-level recap And once again, I have with me the department directors and staff who'll be here to answer any specific project questions that you may have. At the conclusion, we will ask for your feedback, input, and ask for adoption of the proposed CIP. As you recall, the proposed five-year total is $383 million across all funds, with public utilities at $75.5 million, the fleet fund at almost $4.2 million, stormwater at $16.9, transit $2.7, and the general government fund at $283.6 million. Investments are proposed to enhance water and sewer systems, replace our fleet facility, make stormwater drainage improvements, invest in a new transit facility, and maintenance and enhancements to parks and recreation facilities, city buildings, the Suffolk Executive Airport, downtown and neighborhood improvements, and of course, schools and transportation as well. Looking specifically at the general government projects, we are directing or recommending $88.2 million, or 31% of the funding for public school projects, 30% for transportation improvements, 14% for public safety, 11% for public buildings, 9% for parks and recreation, and 5% for village, neighborhood, and downtown enhancements. The revenues in support of those projects, 60% bond or debt financing, 22% cash from the general fund or the capital reserve fund, and then 18% from state and federal grants and other sources. The next steps are to receive feedback from the Planning Commission and then ask for adoption of the proposed fiscal year 2025-2034 CIP. Upon adoption, the document will be sent to City Council for their consideration in February. That concludes my remarks. If you have any questions, either myself or staff will be available to try and answer your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Meeks. Commissioners, do we have any questions or any items that we want to bring forth and elaborate on?
Mr. Chairman, I'll just echo a concern that Commissioner Hicks voiced at the last monthly meeting concerning the process. And I think there was some concern about the fact that the way the process worked, she served on the subcommittee, and that maybe it wasn't as open to ideas as I'm paraphrasing what was said, but maybe that the process should be reviewed before the next year's CIP comes forward, since Commissioner Hicks did question the ability to maybe study the information prior to the meeting that was there, and then be able to maybe come up with some questions concerning some of the items or line items, et cetera. So that would be my only thought, would be to maybe have the city staff look into the process before the next CIP. That's all.
I'd like to add as well, and echoing that, another item that I feel could warrant a little more transparency is and I personally got some questions answered, but is the prioritization of projects. And from my understanding, and Kevin, if you can confirm or elaborate or correct me, that each department comes with, for lack of better words, a wish list of their projects that they want to see done. And they are individually kind of in charge of prioritizing which comes first. And I remember in the meeting that Anita, or Mrs. Commissioner Hicks and I were in, that like the school board had an index for how they prioritized the greatest need and how they, could you sort of maybe elaborate on that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's important to remember at the end of the day, the CIP subcommittee makes its recommendation along with the city manager there, and ultimately it's their recommended CIP. However, to initiate the process, each director, department by department, prioritizes their needs in their CIP submittal, in which we submit to the budget office for their consideration. And it really is a wish list. It's a wish list and will far exceed our funding capabilities as a city. So, yeah, of course, along the way, tough decisions have to be made, but it's the responsibility of those most familiar with their needs from a departmental level, prioritize them in a way in which they hope to achieve the projects that make the most sense for the city as a whole.
I'd like to make a statement. We did notice that we have a new logo for the city, 50 years. That this process has been going on for that period of time. And prior to city manager Cuffy Glenn becoming the city manager, planning wasn't a part of that subcommittee. It's only been in, I can't tell you the exact year, I think I was on that committee the first time. And prior to that, we didn't have any input. And I feel personally, you're talking millions of dollars. I have trouble balancing my bank book with thousands, okay? So I'm not gonna try to get involved in the city's department heads trying to determine with their wish list what should be the priority. That's out of my realm as being, as a planning commissioner. I trust their integrity and to present to us a CIP going forward with the city manager's recommendations. And that's all I'm gonna say on that.
If I could just comment briefly, going back to 2007 or so, when the CIP was, or the Planning Commission and the subcommittee process was created by City Manager Cuffy Glenn at the time, I think the intent regarding the Planning Commission was to take a look at the plan in terms of what was being proposed. Does it conform with the comprehensive plan in general? Not so much, in terms of the dollar amounts. Of course, that's critical as well. But from this body, taking a look at whether or not those projects were not getting outside of what the growth plan of the city is. So we could probably clarify that better the next time around, and we'll certainly take Commissioner Hicks and Commissioner Bowers' comments along with Commissioner Staylor back to the city manager and see what we can do going forward.
Thank you, Mr. Meeks. Commissioners, so we can, we want to, Mr. Preetmore?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have a question about, I think something came up last month about the financial evaluation, and that we were increasing our ability to be able to safely repay our bonds and all that sort of thing. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So prior to starting this year's process, and with all the different project needs that departments have put together, and looking at the city's financial trajectory and economic standing, we went back to our financial advisors, Davenport and Company, this year, and asked them prior to beginning this process, does the city have any more ability to debt finance beyond the $30 million figure which we've had in place probably since 2007? And so they took a look at our revenues and expenditures and 5-year forecast, and they felt comfortable with us increasing the debt amount up to about $35 million a year going forward. So we have tried to stick generally with that in the CIP. You'll see, especially over the first 5 years, we're trying to stay within 35, 36 or million dollars or less, average 35 million over the 5 years. We feel comfortable with that. The city manager has reviewed it along with the finance staff and budget staff, and we feel like we can meet our debt obligations going forward with adding a little bit more debt, but also supplementing it with a little bit more general fund cash and capital reserve funds that we have built up over the last few years. So we feel good about that. We don't want to get too far out there, and we can always toggle back if, the economy and things were to change.
Thank you.
I'd make a comment on that as well. I'm going into my 9th year on the Planning Commission, and I know in some of the first years I questioned the $30 million that we were borrowing, and so it'd be unusual for me not to question $35 million, but I'm not. The city has grown, the city is progressing, and it would only make sense that we keep up with that growth by providing some of these additional benefits to the citizens, and that costs money. Inflation is hitting us all, but I don't see that a problem as long as I don't see something on the internet like I did the other day where they were talking about the cities, the top 10 cities in the United States that were so far in debt that their citizens owed thousands and thousands of dollars per citizen. So I think we're within those limits, and I congratulate y'all for looking forward. Thank you.
Can I get a motion, we move this forward to City Council next month?
So moved.
Okay. Great, well. Mr. Edwards?
Second.
Second? Okay. Any discussion on the motion? Mr. Wyman, you call for the vote, please.
Commissioners, please vote. Mr. Chairman, the motion's approved by a vote of 8-0.
Thank you.
Mr. Mix, thanks for all your work and all your staff, the department heads with their wish lists, and we'll move this to council, and then council has the final word. Thank you. Under new business, we have, I think, a 2045 comprehensive plan update.
By the time we're done, maybe we'll add a year to it.
Be careful what you say, right?
But over the course of really the last year and a half or so, we have come before you all, be it work sessions or during regular meetings, to present an overview on the progress as it relates to the 2045 comprehensive plan update. Would be the fourth such iteration of our comprehensive plan series. It's put a lot of work into this over the last 18 months to 2 years. We've been out in the community a great deal, having conversations and gathering feedback from important stakeholders. And we're at a pretty pivotal stage now as it relates to our land use strategy, which is in a lot of ways the backbone of the comprehensive plan, as well as exploring, some ideas regarding our growth boundaries, which we'll discuss a little bit further with City Council tomorrow evening. But as it relates to our land use strategy, Keith Kennedy, our comprehensive planning manager and the project manager for this project, will kind of outline our thinking, which will be a pretty significant change on how we handle land use in the city, and kind of talk through some of those ideas and hopefully get some of your feedback as well. So with that being said, Keith.
All right, well, good afternoon, everyone. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, that is a great setup, Kevin. Thank you very much. We're going to focus today on what we think is a pretty significant recommendation this time around for the update, which is what is our approach to the future land use plan. And it's significant, it's complicated, so what we're going to do this afternoon is kind of walk you through some examples, almost a before and after approach to what the current plan would say about a particular area of the city and what we would recommend under this new approach. And we've picked sites in different areas of the city, hopefully to give you some good examples in doing that. So we'll pick up from our discussion in October and hopefully take you a little bit deeper into this important topic. And then I want to close out today with an updated schedule of what we're going to be doing over the next couple of months. We'll be busy. We'll be rolling out a full recommendation and seeking additional input as we go forward. And perhaps nobody knows this slide better than you all and your staff here in the planning department. What do we use this land use plan for? You all are really where the rubber meets the road on that one. It's not a rezoning, but it's an important input, right, into that decision by council and in your recommendation. Speaking of infrastructure and CIP, it guides where we make investments in the city, how we manage growth and change. And it also preserves what's special about Suffolk. As the city has grown over the last 20 or 30 years, there's some things we don't want to change. And the land use plan is a way for you to make that message in the form of policy. But again, back to change, we think this land use plan will create some better predictability both for residents of the city and folks who want to invest here. So this is the thing that you see multiple times in the month and the thing that's up for revision and update. So let's start there. And what you're going to see is a change from the 6 land use categories on the left side of the slide to 12 land use categories, what we're currently recommending in 2045. So I want to walk you through, again, some examples of what that would actually look like going forward. This is sort of a short synopsis of what that change is. A couple of districts stay the same. Mixed use core, rural conservation, rural agriculture, no change there. We've added categories. Villages is one, in parks and open space. Those will be new land use categories, getting back to what I was saying earlier about protecting what you love about Suffolk. So say that in the form of policy in your land use plan. The big changes are in core support, entering suburban, and suburban. Those 3 categories go away, and they get replaced with 3 commercial and 4 residential types of land uses. Again, mainly around increasing compatibility between uses that don't work well together and providing that level of predictability going forward as these development opportunities get developed. So we'll start in the northern growth area, and the sites that we've selected to look at in the northern growth area are on this slide, starting in the north at Tidewater Community College, Real Estate Foundation area, the Knott's Neck Farm area off of Bridge Road, and the number 3 on the slide there, Florence Bowser area near the Bowser Elementary School. So I want to start out with getting you oriented a little bit. This is the first site. What you're looking at, sort of landmarks, Nansemond River on the left of the slide, James River, Hampton Roads Harbor on the top of the slide. That is 664 on the right side of the slide. So it almost goes without saying a great opportunity site for future development and redevelopment in Suffolk. That's what our current plan shows. Mixed-use core, for the most part, a small portion of core support, and that's largely what we're recommending for this in the land use plan. That category doesn't change. You do see a couple of existing developments, again, where we're going to attempt to put a land use recommendation that matches what's on the ground today. So you'll see a suburban neighborhood category there, as well as a traditional neighborhood category there. We'll define those use districts again for this plan update. This is an example of what the mixed-use core definition looks like. We'll talk about the uses that are complementary, primary, and secondary uses. We'll also talk about place types and targeted densities in all of these categories. Our next site, moving south and a little bit west, referring to as the Knott's Neck Farm site. Some landmarks here. That's Bennett's Creek on the left side of the slide. On the right side of the slide is Knott's Creek, and Nansemond River to the north, just off of the slide. Some landmarks here, existing uses, mostly residential, some commercial in this area as well. We think there's a good development opportunity here with the nursery property. So here's the proposed recommendation for this portion of the city. Again, we're recognizing the commercial that's already there along Bridge Road, a small amount of multifamily development that's there, and a suburban neighborhood that's there. Probably the big recommendation here is the traditional neighborhood category for the portion to the north and the top part of the slide. We think it's a great opportunity for development in a traditional neighborhood density, with primary uses being single family and detached and attached uses. You see the category there of secondary uses that would be complementary for that district. And again, these terms will be defined based on density and complementary uses, suburban neighborhood and multifamily neighborhood. Again, new categories, by and large, recognizing what's already developed in the city and also identifying those opportunities for the most compatible use of undeveloped or developable portions that are near those properties. The third site in the North Suffolk growth area we're referring to as the Florence Bowser site. In this area, you've got the village of Driver kind of on the left side of this slide. That's Nansemond Road coming across vertically there about halfway down the slide, and the trail, conversion of the Seacoast Trail coming across sort of diagonally across the top of the slide. Like a lot of areas in the growth areas of Suffolk, it's got this suburban land use category, which is fairly broad. I think as you all have experience with rezoning requests that come through. So again, we're looking at a more defined approach to our land use plan, showing the categories of the properties that are already developed, which you see here. The blue square there in the middle is the elementary school. And this property is actually surrounded by, we think, a good development opportunity in this growth area. Again, in this particular case, we're recommending traditional neighborhood development there. We also recognize some employment uses that are already in place here as well. That's the purple color that you see. So again, very different look from what the current land use plan recommends, but we do believe this has some real advantages for us. And again, this is language out of the current comprehensive plan describing the suburban development area, a broad range of residential as well as multifamily options, and even large employment uses are appropriate under the special district place type. So again, creating a little more predictability around the areas through this use of this new approach. Again, a new category that will be specifically for large employment centers, manufacturing, warehousing uses that require large sites, buffer from things that are around them, other land uses, and oftentimes have very unique infrastructure uses. So siting those in places in the city where they will be most compatible and most successful in those locations. So looking now at the central growth area, we've got 3 sites here. We also want to focus on, again, starting in the north, the Matoaka site. They're right at the edge of the growth boundary. A little to the east of that, Godwin Boulevard, Brady's Marina area, and finally to the south, not far from here on North Main Street is another example. Again, landmarks here to the top part of the slide is the Western Branch Reservoir. You see Godwin Boulevard on the far right side. That's the intersection with Kings Fork Road. And again, we believe this is a good development opportunity in the center of this slide and want to recommend what we think is the best use there. This is also the location of Kings Fork Middle School, Kings Fork High School, and the fire station 6 there off of Kings Fork Road, just to kind of, again, get you oriented. This is what that land use plan would look like for this particular part of the city. You see the blue areas, the fire station, the schools. That's the new Publix in red there at the corner of Kings Fork and Godwin Boulevard. So again, recognizing the stable commercial uses, the institutional uses, and identifying what we think is the best opportunity for the development of this site. Again, looking at a traditional neighborhood residential use there. Again, back to this fairly broad category, the suburban use district. This gives you, we believe, more direction and more compatibility among potentially competing uses. Again, that definition of traditional neighborhood will be laid out in the plan, density ranges, appropriate place types, and things like that will all be part of our recommendation going forward. Office institutional, again, another new category, realizing and recognizing both private and public sector, civic and office medical uses with this new category. Just to the east of where we were before, this is Godwin Boulevard in the middle of the slide. Lake Mead, Western Branch Reservoir on the left of the slide, and Nansemond River on the right of the slide, again, to kind of get you oriented there. Again, another site that is designated for suburban land use in the current plan. Here again, we're recommending a mix of residential densities. We think that's more appropriate for that part of the city. Both traditional neighborhood, I believe this slide has actually been updated since this was put forward, but that would actually be a suburban neighborhood on the east side of Godwin Boulevard going north and across the river there. Again, the 2045 plan will lay this out in detail, and you all will be seeing this in the coming weeks, defining the districts and the appropriate uses and the districts, much like the current plan does. Finally, the last example here on North Main Street, again, to give you a couple of landmarks to orient yourself. Lake Mead on the left side of this slide, Nansemond River on the right side. This is where you find a very stable commercial corridor, auto dealerships, Lowe's, Walmart located in this area, currently defined as core support in entering suburban. Again, that's in the current plan. What we are recommending here is to recognize that as a commercial corridor, acknowledge the commercial businesses on North Main Street. This is also the location of a couple of open space, public open space uses. The Lake Mead Park is here. The Holly Cemetery is here, so behind the commercial uses on the west side of North Main Street, so those are recognized. We also have the old VDOT site here that they are in the process of relocating, which opens up a great opportunity for redevelopment of that property. And so we're actually showing that here as well, with maintaining commercial along North Main Street with a traditional neighborhood development on the backside along the Nansemond River. So again, a pretty different look, we think, but one that we think makes some sense going forward. Again, details will be provided as in the current plan defining these districts and the mix of uses that are there. All of this subject to review in this last round of public review and comment. But wanted to share that with you today to give you an idea of what you'll be seeing in the coming weeks and what we'll be sharing with the community. Know that's a lot of information to absorb, but I wanted to pause there and see if you all had any specific questions about this proposal and where we're going before I talk a little bit about schedule and what's next. Make sense? So going forward, as Kevin mentioned, we're going to be busy. I mean, this is our start to finish timeline. We're well into phase 3 of drafting this plan, putting pen to paper, developing maps like the ones you're seeing this afternoon, and going public for a last round of public engagement in adoption in the April-May timeframe. Here's a couple of details. We will be briefing City Council tomorrow night on the growth area boundaries that we're recommending for the plan update. We'll be coming back to them at their February work session, talking about the opportunity areas within the growth areas that we've identified, specifically downtown and the core area up in North Suffolk. We'll be coming back to you all at your February meeting, also to brief you on the growth areas that we're recommending going forward. So that presentation will be scheduled for you in February on the 20th. The next day, we're scheduled to present the final plan to City Council in a work session and post the document online, which will kick off a pretty robust public open house sessions in March to get feedback from the community. We'll have a steering committee meeting that following night. But we're going to go back to a format that we used this past June that we thought was really successful, bringing city staff out, making maps available, and just having conversations with people about what it is we're proposing and why we're proposing it. We will also have online capability through that period of time where you can review maps in detail, provide comments, and ask questions. Again, with the idea of coming back to you all in City Council around the March or April timeframe with additional updates, followed by recommendations for adoption in April and May. And the bottom part of this schedule depends a lot on what we hear when we go back out to the community in March and what kind of changes or revisions we might want to make going forward. So, Mr. Chairman, that concludes my presentation. Again, happy to answer any questions that you all might have for me.
Yeah,
Mr. Edwards.
thank you so much for your presentation. Can we go back a couple of slides? We can go back to the slide on downtown with the VDOT. Can we go back to that one?
Yeah, North Main Street.
Go back to the other one.
So here's the before.
Yeah, this is before. This is current. Now, I want to say something. I've been here a long time now, because I remember when we did this back, I think, about 15. And from just a visual way of thinking about things, This is easy to understand. Because when I see dark gold and I see light, I know light, like the yellowish light, I'm in entering. When I go into dark, I know I'm in core support, red and so forth. And it was kind of like if you map the city out. A question to you is, under the current plan, are we able to change part of that light area right there into, let's say, the darker gold? Or is this kind of static? Under the current plan?
Under the current plan.
Right.
Well, the current plan has a definition of uses that are appropriate for that district. So core support, which is the tan color,
Right.
has a list of uses that are appropriate. So if someone comes to you with a request for a rezoning that would be on that list, then that would indicate conformity with the plan.
Let me ask this question, though.
Yeah.
But can I grow core support with a rezoning?
This is a land use category, not a zoning category. Does that help?
Yeah, so I think I understand the question. So modify our current comprehensive plan land use map to change the land use designation of property from core support or inner ring suburban to core support. Okay. You can, and there's a process for that. It's a comprehensive plan amendment. I've been here, 7 years, 8 years, and we've not received one of those. One of the reasons it's difficult to consider comprehensive plan amendments, anyone who wants to participate in the process can, but you are updating or reviewing your comprehensive plan every 5 years as required by state law anyway. So to put so much work into a drafting of a document and adoption of a document to then say, oops, we made an error here is, it's a tougher sell. But yes, anyone can petition a modification of our land use map through a comprehensive plan amendment. In fact, I'm sorry, I said we've not received any private applications. However, the city did initiate an amendment to its comprehensive plan as it relates to the downtown master plan somewhat recently, in which we modified the festival events park site. So that's an example of what that looks like.
That was more initiated by the city than by the private.
Yes.
Private.
Yes.
Now, let's go to the other one.
So the after?
Yeah, the new one. Yeah, what we're talking about. So my question is, so just like this is now basically the use district, is that correct?
Yes.
We'll recommend and get feedback on.
Yeah. But from our terminology right now, we'll basically call this the use district. This is not the zoning. This is the use district.
Correct.
And underneath it is the zoning.
Yes.
And it's the zoning is where we get the applications where people are changing. Is that correct?
Yes.
My question, and this is, I just say this from an aesthetic thing. If the staff is comfortable and they feel more better with the way that this is laid out with more granularity with the different types, I'm fine with it because I only really deal with this stuff seasonally. You all deal with this every day. So if from a staff stand, if it's more feasible for you all, I'm fine with it. But I will say this, the old way, if I'm talking with my grandmama, it was easier for me to explain how things would work in growth zone, use districts with the old map. When we get down to changing all these colors, it's going to get intimidating. And I'm just saying from a visual standpoint for people who do not deal with this stuff every day and going from, I basically have to learn 5 districts, then now I have to learn 11, we're starting to get intimidating. And, one thing about the public, I think the public has been very engaged. And I'm not saying that the public, is not going to be able to comprehend. But the way we had the map before, if I saw certain areas, I knew the possibilities and the ranges. Now, it's getting more jargon, from my standpoint, from a visual standpoint. And it's just, but I understand, but if staff is the one who has to deal with this the most, and the staff is the one that's have to make decisions, I understand it gives you kind of more predictability, because now I'm really getting to the weeds of it, saying in one use district, it's so many possibilities. Now you already narrowing it right down to, I know right now, we're doing this there. Is that correct?
I think that's fair, and that's ultimately the goal, to remove some of the nuance from the broad spectrum of uses that are appropriate within our current use districts, to refine it in pursuit of predictability. I think that's overall the hope. We are going to have, with each of these land use categories, it is growing, we are going to have appropriate densities associated with it, appropriate uses associated with it. But we like to pick on our suburban use district currently a little bit, because the spectrum of uses that are appropriate within the suburban use district incredibly broad. We like to say you can have anywhere from a multifamily development to a warehouse complex, and everything in between. So our goal with this is to assure residents and stakeholders this is what the property is identified for use in the comprehensive plan. And that way we get out of the business of evaluating case by case whether certain uses within the suburban use district are appropriate on this property, but not necessarily here. So we're kind of doing that work in advance, if you will, through land use designations.
I just want to say one last thing, then I'm going to pass the mic. A 5-3 vote, 6-2 votes are nice on certain things. But sometimes in life, you have to be united on the rules. Like, this comprehensive plan is us establishing the rules for the city. And all of us represent all the different communities of the whole city. We're here to look at the city as a whole and to make sure that our necks of the woods are heard. But at the end of the day, our decision is to make a decision what's best for Suffolk as a whole. And so, like I said, if we get out to the weeds of, what one speck of land is going to be, we might disagree on that. But we need to agree on the rules of what we're going to be as a city. Because one of the worst things we could do is to go into this, divide it, and then you start implementing something and we're divided and we create chaos. So I just hope that we take this process these next months serious and we get on the same page, because we need to be united going into whatever we do. And I thank you for your time.
I just have one question right now. When you put these maps online, are they going to be detailed enough that they also have street names?
Yes, and I apologize for these slides. I thought long and hard about whether this is even going to work,
Okay.
But we're really excited about, and this consultant that we're working with has done this, does this all the time, and they've got an online program. We've seen some examples, and you can go right on down to the parcel level, find your street, and really get that information. So we're excited about having that available to people for 30 days, 60 days, or something like that. And we'll even be able to do it in the open house. If you come in, you don't have a computer, we can look up your property, show you how to do it. So I think that's a great question. We've been asking it ourselves. I think we'll have a good approach for it. Because as you said, we all want everybody to be on the same page. You can't get there if you don't understand what's being proposed. You can't get down to that level of detail. So I think we will have something that will get that job done for us.
Thank you, Commissioner Bauer.
Yes, I kind of had a comment/question, and I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer here, but I kind of see this, and I drive this strip multiple times a day just because of where I live in my office location, and I kind of see this area in particular as a missed opportunity for Suffolk. But hear me out, because I know a lot of focus goes towards downtown, and we don't have necessarily a downtown waterfront. But one thing you'll see about this stretch is there's a lot of water on both sides. And I'm not trying to pick on any business that falls in, on that strip of Main Street, because obviously they're in business and they're doing well. But I can't help but be a little sad for the city in that there's some underutilized waterfront property that I feel like I don't know that it's the best use. And I'm not, I very much respect property owners' rights, but I hope that when we're looking at it, and I trust that the consultant you're using, is looking at the best use, but I'm also hoping that we're looking at some other cities that may have whether it's their downtown or their main street, that has a somewhat similar situation with some opportunities to utilize waterfront and attract people and highlight that, because not all cities have that, and we do. I hope that makes sense.
No, it's a great comment, and we certainly think about it a lot. Have we fully utilized, as we've developed over 100 years, really fully utilized the waterfront in this city? And I think the question is no. And I think one of the reasons to go back into the downtown master plan and update it periodically, or develop a plan for North Suffolk, which has got beautiful waterfront access, right, is to get into those kinds of questions on a little bit of a smaller scale. Meet with those property owners and meet with the residents and find out what are the opportunities to kind of face the water, use the water to a greater advantage. And I've worked in other communities in Hampton Roads. We've all got that problem. We've got a lot of water, and we don't always use it to our full advantage from a public use standpoint. And so comment well taken.
Any other comments, questions? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Moving along, status report for city council meeting, Mr. Wine.
Yes, sir. We had one item go before City Council at their December 20th meeting. That was the amendments to the UDO Article 7 as it related to our supplemental use regulations for solar energy facilities. That was approved with a modification by City Council to cap the acreage allowance at 1% of our agriculturally zoned land. As you may recall, you all recommended 0.5% of that. They approved it with a 1% cap. And that's all.
Okay. And no preliminary plats, okay. Commissioners, comments?
Commissioner Hicks with a question. Now that I realize what I'm looking at, 50 years, 1974 to 2024. I'm a nice girl and I'm just a little slow. I did not realize
Say it before.
what that was. But is it a pen and can I have one?
There are a ton, and yes, I will get you all one. Wait, what kind of, a little pen or a writing pen?
Just one.
Oh, well, we'll make it happen.
Make it happen.
We have a ton, yeah.
Okay.
I don't have, I can get them.
Okay.
I'll make that note for next meeting.
Now that I realize what it is.
Any other requests?
I didn't know what it was.
Can we get TVs or anything like? No. The only thing I would say.
They would be 1974 TVs.
The only thing I'd say is, as to the comprehensive plan, I would urge each and every one of my fellow commissioners to attend the meetings. Mr. Edwards mentioned unity and being together, and this is I guess, once in a lifetime opportunity for some of us for the 2045 plan, which I told somebody earlier today, that 2045, I'll be 100 years old, so we're looking way out, I hope. But with that, these meetings that the staff puts together with the community, I'd urge you all to attend. I know I tried to attend every one of them in the preliminary meetings, and a number of you I saw at some of these meetings, so I would urge you to be there. It kind of shows strength in numbers and force, and that our constituents know that we're there representing them and making their needs. Keith, this fabulous job on this. I can't imagine the amount of staff time that's gone into this program already. So fantastic job going forward. I'm probably not going to agree with everything in it, but I didn't agree with everything in the old one either. So, there's no change there. And one last comment. I would like to thank Josh for not saying anything tonight this afternoon at our meeting. So we may get home at a decent time.
Thanks, Mr. Stiller. I'd like to make one comment. When we attend these meetings, try to be a fly on the wall and just observe and listen.
Yep.
And not take the lead over staff that's doing the presentations. Okay. That's it. If no other comments, we stand adjourned. Adjourned.